For decades, Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer shared one of Hollywood's most respected friendships. From working together on the legendary Western Tombstone to speaking about one another in interviews years later, their connection was built on professional respect and personal admiration. As Val Kilmer faced serious health challenges and reflected on his remarkable career, Kurt Russell offered rare insights into the man behind the fame. What did Russell reveal about Kilmer that so many people never knew? And how did one unforgettable film create a friendship that lasted through triumph, hardship, and loss? This documentary explores the facts behind their relationship, the making of Tombstone, Kilmer's extraordinary career, and a legacy that continues to inspire audiences around the world. Long before Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer became forever linked through one of Hollywood's most celebrated westerns, they were traveling two very different roads towards stardom. Their backgrounds, training, and early careers could hardly have been more different. Yet both would eventually earn reputations as gifted performers whose dedication to their craft commanded respect across the film industry. Kurt Russell's story began remarkably early. Born in Springfield, Massachusetts, in 1951, he was introduced to acting as a child, influenced in part by his father, Bing Russell, an actor best known for appearing in television westerns. By the age of 12, Kurt was already appearing in television series, displaying a natural confidence in front of the camera. During the late 1960s, he became one of Disney's most recognizable young stars, appearing in films such as The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, The Barefoot Executive, and Now You See Him, Now You Don't. While many child actors struggled to transition into adult careers, Russell steadily reinvented himself. Instead of relying on his early success, he embraced more mature and demanding roles, eventually becoming one of Hollywood's most dependable leading men. Val Kilmer's path was entirely different. Born in Los Angeles in 1959, he displayed an extraordinary passion for acting from a young age. His talent earned him admission to the prestigious Juilliard School's drama division, where he became one of the youngest students ever accepted into the program. Classical training shaped his approach to performance, encouraging deep preparation and complete commitment to every role. Friends and classmates often described him as intensely focused, curious, and determined to understand every character from the inside out. Kilmer first attracted attention through comedy with Top Secret in 1984, proving he possessed remarkable comic timing. Soon afterward, he demonstrated even greater range in Real Genius, before earning widespread recognition as naval pilot Tom, Iceman Kazansky in the blockbuster Top Gun. His performances combined intelligence, confidence, and subtle emotional complexity, making him one of the most sought-after actors of the late 1980s and early 1990s. Although Russell and Kilmer came from different generations and different acting traditions, they shared important qualities. Both believed in hard work, careful preparation, and treating every role with seriousness. Russell developed a reputation for professionalism and consistency, while Kilmer became known for his willingness to completely immerse himself in his characters, even if that dedication sometimes made productions more demanding. By the early 1990s, both men stood at significant moments in their careers. Russell had successfully transformed from child star into respected leading actor, while Kilmer had become one of Hollywood's brightest and most versatile talents. Neither could have predicted that a historical Western about Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday would soon connect their careers forever. That film will become Tombstone, but behind its eventual success lay production challenges, creative disagreements, and one unforgettable performance that would forever shape how audiences remembered both actors. The question was whether those challenges would strengthen their partnership or threaten the film before it ever reached theaters. When Tombstone entered production in 1993, it was intended to tell the story of Wyatt Earp and the infamous gunfight at the OK Corral. Few people involved expected the film to become one of the most beloved westerns ever made. Even fewer could have predicted that it would create one of Hollywood's most respected on-screen partnerships between Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer. Kurt Russell was cast as Wyatt Earp, the determined lawman whose quiet leadership held the story together. Val Kilmer accepted the role of Doc Holliday, the educated Southern dentist turned gambler and gunfighter who was slowly dying from tuberculosis. Although Holliday was technically a supporting character, Kilmer immediately recognized the emotional complexity of the role. He reportedly spent considerable time researching the real Doc Holliday, studying his history, his mannerisms, and the devastating effects of his illness. Rather than portraying him as simply fearless or sarcastic, Kilmer sought to reveal a man masking pain with humor, loyalty, and intelligence. Behind the camera, however, the production faced serious difficulties. Director Kevin Jarre was replaced early in filming, with George P. Cosmatos taking over directing duties. Years later, several cast members suggested that Kurt Russell played an unusually active leadership role during production. Russell himself later acknowledged helping organize aspects of the filming after the leadership change, ensuring that the ambitious project stayed on schedule despite the uncertainty. Throughout those challenges, Russell and Kilmer developed a strong professional relationship built on mutual trust. Instead of competing for attention, each actor understood how important the other's performance was to the film. Russell's calm, restrained portrayal of Wyatt Earp provided the perfect balance for Kilmer's energetic and unpredictable Doc Holliday. Their scenes together felt authentic because they reflected genuine collaboration rather than rivalry. Kilmer's commitment quickly became legendary among the cast. He remained deeply immersed in character throughout filming, carefully delivering Doc Holliday's distinctive Southern accent and memorable dialogue with remarkable precision. Lines such as, "I'm your Huckleberry," would eventually become some of the most quoted in modern Western cinema. But their lasting impact came not simply from clever writing. They worked because Kilmer delivered them with confidence, subtle humor, and emotional depth. When Tombstone premiered in December 1993, critics offered mixed reactions to the film itself, but one opinion appeared almost universal. Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday was extraordinary. Many reviewers called it the standout performance of the entire movie. Audiences agreed, and over the following decades, Tombstone grew into a cult classic whose popularity continued to expand through television broadcasts and home video. For Kurt Russell, the film represented another successful chapter in an already impressive career. For Val Kilmer, it became the role many fans still consider the finest performance of his life. Yet while Tombstone strengthened both men's reputations, the years that followed would test them in very different ways. Following the success of Tombstone, Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer entered the next stage of their careers with strong momentum. Yet while both remained major Hollywood stars throughout the 1990s, the paths they followed gradually became very different. Their contrasting experiences would eventually shape not only their careers, but also how audiences remembered them. For Kurt Russell, consistency became one of his greatest strengths. Already respected for films such as Escape from New York, The Thing, and Big Trouble in Little China, he continued choosing projects that showcased his versatility rather than chasing trends. Films like Executive Decision, Soldier, Miracle, Sky High, and later The Hateful Eight demonstrated his ability to move comfortably between action, drama, comedy, and historical storytelling. Directors frequently praised Russell for arriving prepared, maintaining a collaborative attitude, and putting the needs of the film above personal recognition. That reputation helped him enjoy one of Hollywood's longest and most stable careers. Val Kilmer's career, meanwhile, remained filled with extraordinary performances, but also increasing unpredictability. After Tombstone, he starred alongside some of the biggest names in the industry. In Michael Mann's crime epic Heat, he shared the screen with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, delivering a restrained yet memorable performance. He then stepped into one of cinema's most recognizable roles by portraying Bruce Wayne in Batman Forever. The film became a major box office success, introducing Kilmer to an even larger global audience. Despite these accomplishments, stories began emerging about difficult productions and creative disagreements. Some directors described Kilmer as demanding or intensely perfectionistic, while others defended him as an actor who simply cared deeply about authenticity. Fellow performers often offered a more balanced perspective, describing him as intelligent, thoughtful, and completely committed to understanding every detail of his characters. His reputation became increasingly complex, admired for remarkable talent, yet sometimes misunderstood because of his uncompromising artistic standards. Psychologically, that level of dedication came with both rewards and challenges. Kilmer rarely approached acting casually. Friends and colleagues observed that he immersed himself completely in each role, sometimes making it difficult to separate the performer from the character. While that commitment produced unforgettable performances, it also contributed to public perceptions that often focused more on behind-the-scenes stories than on the quality of his work. Then came an obstacle far greater than any Hollywood controversy. Around 2014, Kilmer began experiencing persistent health problems. Although he initially remained private about his condition, it was later confirmed that he had been diagnosed with throat cancer. His treatment included chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and multiple surgeries, including a tracheotomy that permanently affected his voice. For an actor whose career depended so heavily on performance and speech, the diagnosis represented a profound personal and professional challenge. Rather than disappearing from public life, Kilmer gradually chose openness. Through interviews, his memoir, and later the acclaimed documentary Val, he allowed audiences to witness the physical, emotional, and psychological realities of his recovery. The documentary featured decades of personal footage, revealing not only the celebrated movie star, but also a father, artist, and man determined to preserve his identity despite extraordinary circumstances. Throughout this period, support from longtime friends and colleagues quietly continued. Among those who consistently spoke about Kilmer with admiration was Kurt Russell, whose respect had never faded since their days on Tombstone. As Val Kilmer's health struggles became public, many people began looking back at his career through the lens of his illness. Headlines often focused on the dramatic changes to his voice or the challenges he faced after cancer treatment. But those who had actually worked alongside him remembered something much deeper. Among them was Kurt Russell, whose admiration for Kilmer had remained consistent since they shared the screen in Tombstone more than 3 decades earlier. Over the years, Russell rarely spoke at length about their friendship, but whenever he did, his comments carried genuine respect. Rather than repeating Hollywood rumors or discussing past controversies, he consistently highlighted Kilmer's remarkable talent and total commitment to acting. Russell described him as an exceptionally gifted performer who approached every role with intelligence, creativity, and complete dedication. In an industry where praise is often brief or carefully measured, Russell's admiration stood out because it focused on Kilmer's work rather than his celebrity. That respect was rooted in first-hand experience. During the filming of Tombstone, Russell watched Kilmer transform himself into Doc Holliday with extraordinary discipline. Every gesture, every line of dialogue, and every moment on screen reflected careful preparation. Kilmer didn't simply memorize his scenes. He fully inhabited the character. His southern accent, dry wit, and subtle portrayal of a man slowly dying from tuberculosis helped create one of the most unforgettable characters in modern Western cinema. Russell understood that achieving such authenticity required enormous effort. While audiences saw a charismatic gunslinger, fellow actors witnessed the countless hours of research and rehearsal behind the performance. That dedication left a lasting impression on Russell, who later suggested that Kilmer's work on Tombstone was among the finest acting he had ever seen. As the years passed, public opinion about Kilmer also began to evolve. Earlier stories that had focused on difficult productions gradually gave way to a broader appreciation of his artistic achievements. Many directors, actors, and film historians revisited his body of work and recognized how consistently he challenged himself with demanding roles. Instead of seeing only the headlines, audiences began to see the extraordinary range that had always defined his career. One of the most emotional moments came in 2022 with the release of Top Gun: Maverick. Although Kilmer's health had permanently affected his ability to speak, filmmakers worked closely with him to bring back his iconic character, Tom "Iceman" Kazansky. Advances in voice technology combined with Kilmer's own performance, allowed him to appear in a deeply moving reunion scene with Tom Cruise. The sequence lasted only a few minutes, but its emotional impact was enormous. For viewers, it represented more than the return of a beloved character. It reflected resilience, friendship, and the enduring power of cinema. Cruise later explained that filming the reunion had been deeply emotional, while audiences around the world praised the scene as one of the film's defining moments. Kurt Russell's comments about Kilmer fit naturally into this renewed appreciation. His words reminded fans that behind every legendary performance was a man who never stopped striving for excellence, even when facing extraordinary personal challenges. Russell's truth was never about revealing a hidden secret. Instead, it was something far more meaningful. Val Kilmer was exactly what many of his closest colleagues had always believed him to be, an exceptional artist whose commitment to his craft inspired everyone around him. When audiences look back at Hollywood history, they often remember actors by their biggest box office successes or the awards displayed on their shelves. But some performers leave behind something far more meaningful. Their influence grows with time because their work continues to inspire new generations. That has become the story of both Val Kilmer and Kurt Russell. More than 30 years after its release, Tombstone remains one of the most admired westerns ever made. While many films from the early 1990s have gradually faded from public conversation, Tombstone continues to attract new audiences through television broadcasts and streaming platforms. Film critics regularly rank it among the finest modern westerns, and countless fans still quote Doc Holliday's unforgettable dialogue. For many viewers, Val Kilmer's performance has become the standard against which other portrayals of legendary historical figures are measured. Yet the film's lasting success cannot be credited to one actor alone. Kurt Russell's restrained and confident performance as Wyatt Earp gave the story its emotional foundation. Rather than competing for attention, Russell understood that every great partnership requires balance. His calm portrayal allowed Kilmer's energetic Doc Holliday to shine without overwhelming the narrative. That chemistry remains one of the primary reasons the film continues to resonate decades later. As younger audiences discover Tombstone, many are surprised to learn about the difficult production behind it. They see only the finished result, a film that feels effortless, even though those involved overcame leadership changes, production challenges, and intense filming schedules. Looking back, the movie stands as proof that professionalism and teamwork can overcome uncertainty. The release of the documentary Val in 2021 also transformed public understanding of Val Kilmer. Built largely from thousands of hours of personal video recordings that Kilmer had captured throughout his life, the documentary offered an intimate look at his career, relationships, artistic ambitions, and battle with throat cancer. Instead of focusing on celebrity gossip, it presented a thoughtful portrait of an actor who viewed creativity as a lifelong pursuit. Audiences responded with empathy and admiration. Many who had only known Kilmer through headlines or blockbuster films discovered a thoughtful, deeply reflective artist whose greatest challenges had unfolded far from the spotlight. The documentary reminded viewers that behind every famous face is a human story filled with uncertainty, resilience, and perseverance. Following Kilmer's passing, tributes poured in from across the entertainment industry. Directors, actors, producers, and longtime friends shared memories that revealed remarkable consistency. Again and again, they described his intelligence, generosity, curiosity, humor, and unwavering dedication to acting. While individual experiences naturally differed, the overwhelming message was clear. Hollywood had lost one of its most gifted performers. Kurt Russell's reflections fit perfectly within that larger picture. Rather than offering dramatic revelations, he honored Kilmer by speaking honestly about the qualities that truly mattered. His respect reflected years of firsthand experience and reminded audiences that the strongest friendships in Hollywood are often built not on publicity, but on shared trust and mutual admiration. Today, the partnership between Russell and Kilmer represents something increasingly rare in modern filmmaking. It demonstrates how two talented actors, each with a completely different style, can elevate one another through collaboration instead of competition. Their work together continues to influence actors, filmmakers, and audiences who recognize that authenticity cannot be manufactured. As the final chapter approaches, one question remains. Beyond the unforgettable characters and celebrated performances, what is the true legacy that Kurt Russell believes Val Kilmer leaves behind? And why does that message matter even more today than it did 30 years ago?